welcome back to the Arrow After Show right here on the Stream.tv. I'm your host, Jamie Philbrook, and we got a great show for you this week. Before we begin, I want to remind you that we want to hear your comments. We want to know what you're thinking during the show. So please go to Twitter, use the hashtag ArrowAS. We're going to be checking it during the show. Any theories, comments, questions, we'll address those. You can also comment right here on our YouTube page. Now, before we begin, I want to introduce my Arrow crew tonight. To my right, Ray Holdridge.
Hey, hi everybody. Thank you for tuning in again, and I'm representing the old school, the only one without a laptop. In a world of digital, I'm going analog.
Yeah, yellow pad, baby. And over to my left, Louis Love.
Hello, everybody in internet world. I'm so excited. Thanks, Jamie, for having me here. I'm actually going old school and new school, and I still confused. So I don't know.
We're going to do something a little different tonight because we were on hiatus last week.
Yeah.
So, and we missed an episode. It was a great episode called Spectre of the Gun. We want to discuss it just a little bit tonight before we get to tonight's episode. So basically, Spectre of the Gun was a gun control message episode for Arrow, which was very brave, I thought, of the producers and writers to do that. And basically, there's an assassination attempt on Mayor Queen. And while they're looking for the assailant, it brings up the whole gun control sort of issue between Team Arrow. The members of Team Arrow sort of discuss this. And then we also get Wild Dog's origin in the flashback, which is tied to gun control as well. So let me open it up to Ray.
Hey, that's
what
me.
did you think about last week's episode?
Well, I definitely enjoyed learning more about Wild Dog and his backstory, because he kind of just appeared. He was just a random vigilante, or so you think, and to really see where that came from, I thought was really important and really great to see, and really heartbreaking when talking about his family and how he ended up getting pushed to the point where he knew he needed to take things into his own hands to turn things around. And then really I'm a little bit conflicted with the way they did push the gun message. While politics aside, I felt like it's very heavy-handed, and it's still a good episode. I love Arrow, obviously, and I love their writing, really, for the most part. But I just felt like it was very heavy-handed. Although I did enjoy seeing them kind of save the day as Mayor Queen, and not so much using Arrow.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I should mention that. So Mayor Queen basically finds the assailant and talks him down as Mayor Queen instead of Oliver, instead of Green Arrow. I agree with you. I liked the episode a lot. I thought it was very brave of the producers and writers to do. I thought it was a great swing. The heavy-handed thing you mentioned, I agree. I think at times it was a little heavy-handed. I think also at times the show geared into sort of PSA-ish territory, which I got a little concerned about, but they brought it back right away. And I think when you're dealing with this type of subject, that's inevitable. So I thought it was a very, very brave episode of them to do. I enjoyed it. And I also, like you, liked the way that it tied into Wild Dog flashback.
Yeah.
I loved going with the flashback with Wild Dog as opposed to Island or Russia stuff.
Right.
And kind of fleshing out that character for us. Because you're right, he did just sort of, you know, come into the group this season, so now to kind of see that character flesh out, and it tied into the gun control episode and that message. Lewis, what did you think?
Well, what I really, really thought is I was bummed out because we skipped a week, and I thought it was one of the stronger shows because we had Wild Dog's origins was really touching, and it was a break from the regular Ollie stuff we get. So. Yeah, I really liked that episode. I didn't think it was that heavy. Well, I guess it was breaking the fourth wall because it's kind of talking about current affairs.
A little bit. I mean, there was definitely a discussion between Mr. Terrific and Wild Dog that kind of, and everyone kind of Lance got to give his opinion a little bit, Dinah got to give hers, but it was basically the two of them.
But the thing is with Mr. Terrific, he was actually the anti-gun guy, but he listened to Wild Dog's story and when he heard about it, he stopped. Yeah. And he listened, which is something we need in our society.
Right.
And that episode showed all points of views, which I think that is why
absolutely.
I liked it.
And Felicity's point of view was also very interesting because her point of view was like, basically, guys, we're never going to get to the end of this discussion. So this isn't doing us any good. We have to stop whatever the mission of that episode was, but them arguing over it, it wasn't going to be resolved.
See, and I think that was actually one of the parts that got me. It was that scene that I kept thinking about even after the episode ended, because there turns out Mr. Terrific says, why is this so awkward? Why does this have to be you think it's such a terrible thing to discuss these issues? And even that got me, because even my opinion of, I thought it was heavy-handed. But I'm still thinking, like, is it because I really feel that it's heavy-handed, or because I just don't want to talk or touch on that issue? And that just, I will give him that. It got me thinking about myself and where I stand on things.
I thought it was wonderful that at the end of the day, even us as a team here on the Stream.tv, we have our disagreements, but we all work together. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought that brought the team closer together, and it's something that we need. And as far as heavy-handed is concerned, I think it was heavy-handed with that message. Because
but inevitably, I don't think there was a way of doing it without it being to a certain degree. If you're going to tackle that subject, I think you have to be aware that you have to go there.
Yes.
That you really have to go there. But I thought it was very brave on their part to do, and really, if you're going to do that, this is the show to do it on in the Arrowverse. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think gun control would have fit in Flash or Legends of Tomorrow or Supergirl.
It's too
but
bright.
Arrow is such a violent, I don't know if I say violent, but they deal in violence. Their superpower is violence.
Really, yeah.
And so I thought it was a great show, if the Arrowverse shows are going to tackle this subject, that this is the one to do it.
Yeah, and I agree with you and they even touch on the fact that they respond in violence most of the time. So, I gotta say, props to the writers for having the guts to do it.
Yep.
My personal feelings aside, I think that's the main thing, is that as an art form, for you to touch on things that people don't want to always talk about, and that's kind of the window of opportunity. So yes, maybe I think it might be a tad bit heavy-handed and hit it right on the nail, but then again, it does get me thinking, how do I discuss things?
Right.
How, and issues, not just gun control, but in any other type of issue.
And it worked. I mean,
and it worked.
It worked, and it was a very enjoyable episode on many different levels. So,
and that's why I was bummed.
And that's why we were
I don't
bummed.
want a day
That's why
off.
we said we have to talk about it tonight.
At
It's
least
like one of
touch
those things
on
we
it,
don't want a day off from work. Whoever says that. Good job, Arrow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now, let's transition, segue a little bit if we can,
Yes.
and talk about tonight's episode, Season 5, Episode 14 of Arrow, The Sin Eater. So very cool sort of opening of the episode with a prison break, and it's a prison break of 3 female villains that we've seen throughout the series. So it's China White, who we'll remember from the first season, Cupid, who I think came in second, third season, somewhere around
has
there,
come back
was
once.
a member of the Suicide Squad at one point, and then Lady Cop, who was introduced last season as a police officer under Quentin Lance with the Star City Police Department, and now the 3 of them are breaking out of prison, and they're on a hunt to find Tobias Church's, basically his rainy day money.
$100 million.
Which is $100 million. And find that, and Team Arrow have to stop them. And Lance takes this very personally because of his relationship with Liza, with Lady Cop. So, Ray, we'll start with you. What'd you think?
Yeah, well,
Prison break, ladies.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of a lot of the female characters that have come up in the show, and all the CW shows, really. And Cupid is one of my favorites. I have a thing for redheads, so, I love it. Not knock on my girlfriend, babe. You're beautiful. I love you. Brunettes are great, too. But really, the character is always fun to bring that in. And with, China White, it was a great callback to a character that you kind of forgot about. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Because she was so early in the series.
So early in the
You're
series.
absolutely right. I think she was one of the first sort of super villains that Arrow tackled.
That Arrow could take head on and matched him in terms of martial arts.
Right.
And then Liz Warner, played by Rutina Wesley, who is, I always love seeing, she's from the True Blood series, so she has that, when she first appeared, I thought they were going to be using her a lot more. So
I also was surprised because usually an actress of that caliber with that recognizable, cachet, resume, you don't cast them in a one and done.
Yeah.
But she kind of was a one and done, and I'm glad that they were able to bring her back. And I agree. I think all 3 really came together nicely. It was nice to kind of bring these villains from the entire history of Arrow together. What did you think, Louis?
I think it's awesome because the show has a long history of fans, and it's bringing back people from the past. So it kind of tells us as fans, or the hardcore fans of the show, that they're watching too. They're bringing ideas from the past, bringing them to now.
Yeah.
I thought the crew of 3, they kicked some butt. I like the way they look, their outfits. You mentioned they were pretty violent.
They were super violent.
Yeah.
Like, I always find it interesting I think Arrow's one of the more violent of the CW shows in the hero in the DC universe.
Right.
But whenever these ladies come on, you saw a dude's throat get sliced straight up.
Yeah.
Just China White cuts the dude, and I see that, I'm like, I don't think a guy, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but it seems like when they bring the ladies on, it's going to
ladies can have a little bit more blood.
They can have a little more of that, and the characters just came in and kicking butt.
Well,
and
I also thought what was great with bringing Lady Cop back, because as we mentioned, she was sort of short-shivved last season. Now we've got Lance in such an interesting place, right? He's the deputy mayor. He's a recovering alcoholic. His daughter's passed away. He's just sort of accepted that. His other daughter came back from the dead, and now is time traveling. We won't even get into that. But so he's in such an interesting place, and he blames himself for Liza and the predicament she's in. And I thought that really opened up some really nice things with this episode. Lewis, what did you think about that aspect of it with the Lance and Lady Cop?
I think it brings more substance to the villains, and I thought it was a good touch. Not as big as the Wild Dog thing where we went into the past, but it brings that again. It's good writing because it shows that the villains aren't one-dimensional. And stuff, and now you got the relationship.
No, they have layers. I mean, Cupid has layers. Like, and because we spent so much time with her throughout the series, we get that automatically now.
Yeah.
It's not like they have to set up the villain in this episode.
Yeah.
We got it. Like, we got it from the get-go. I also want to mention an incredible fight sequence. I loved this fight sequence. Team Arrow versus our 3 Prison Break gals.
Right.
And Black Canary, the new Black Canary, Dinah, really got to go toe-to-toe with really all 3 of them, but especially China White.
Especially China White.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've always liked about this show is that they'll have those big climactic moments and give a chance, like a new character like Dinah White, who is setting up more and more to be the Black Canary, though she hasn't completely donned that mantle yet. But for her to go one-on-one and show, she is supposed to be extremely proficient in martial arts too, and just a character in the comic books, So to have her show that, go up against somebody else was just a great kind of test, I thought. And yeah, to show her power, like the fact she does have a lot of power with her scream.
And not only does she have the scream, but she's got this like bow staff
now,
and she knows how to fight. Like, she's very lethal.
Yeah, don't mess with her, man. She's blowing people away.
Exactly.
I think they've cleaned up the effects too, man. That looked really.
Like, the Canary Cry looks good.
The Canary Cry looks cool.
And we've seen, the budget's getting bigger, the fans are getting bigger, so let's throw some money in there and make the Canary. No. Don't mess with the Canary.
Yeah,
the Canary is great.
Totally right. In terms of the fight, because now that's at least the 3rd time where the last time there was a helicopter explosion in one episode, and this is just like mid-season stuff, early season stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas,
the helicopter.
the end of the dark season, and there's this huge fight at the end. You're like, it's culmination, but you're still getting these big fights in the middle of the series. So I'm thinking, like, man, what is this going to build up to in terms of, the type of epic finale and what that's going to be? So that just gets me more excited in where they're going in terms of the fights.
And it was really cool. I liked Wild Dog just sort of tackles one of the girls at one point, like out of nowhere, which is awesome.
There was a few jump moves in there, right?
I noticed that too.
Like all of a sudden it's like boom, and the Canary boom, like out of nowhere, and you even jumped out of your seat when Wild Dog.
I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Well, the other thing we wanted to mention was, please, Curtis, you keep training. Keep training to fight because he's not the most lethal Team Arrow member, and his fighting skills could leave a little to be desired.
There was something different about him. Maybe his powers in his jacket.
Well, which was really cool. Actually, that's one of the cool things is we want to say is that he actually has a new crime-fighting suit this week. Mr. Terrific Curtis has really the fair play jacket that we're used to seeing Michael Holt, the character of Mr. Terrific, in the comics wear. So maybe his powers were in the old costume, and now his strength was in that, and you should bring it back. But that was really cool.
I just wonder. I just wonder if now, because the writers, when they first brought him in, they mentioned he's an Olympian, and you think he's an athlete, and even there were times when he was running around doing stuff like, this guy's athletic. But I kind of like, and they made a joke at that, like, aren't you supposed to be an Olympian?
Right.
Hey man, not every
But even Mr. Terrific's power is like in the comics. He's got these like technical tech ball things.
Yeah.
And we've seen, I think, in one episode, Felicity give him something where it's sort of his. I would love for them to really develop those weapons more and see him using them more at some point instead of just being a fighting hero. Because we got enough fighting heroes. I'd love to see him using some of that. Either Palmer tech or Felicity smoke tech or whatever tech they have.
If for nothing else, writers, please, for his sake and safety, he can't just be lying on the ground getting kicked by
two women.
Just kicking him on the ground. It's just at their point, you're like, this guy's, what's he doing here?
You mentioned writers, okay? So you guys are kicking butt on the YouTube. I'm kind of a little blurry here, so I'm focusing on but I got Andrew brings up that a fun fact that this is the last episode written. The writers wrote before they knew they were greenlit for season.
For season 6.
6, correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So were they going for all out, or what would it? Maybe.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see where everything leads. I think they definitely probably had a plan for this season, whether they got picked up again or not. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone over in the Arrowverse knew they would all get picked up again. But it'll be interesting to see where the end game is this season, and also what they leave open for season 6. Go ahead.
I have a quick question to add on, Andrew, right there. Do you think that's maybe why they're expanding on some of the villains, bringing them back? Maybe now they're like, hey, we got so much leg with this show in the future.
Maybe I think Prometheus is the end game for this season.
Yeah.
For this season, Prometheus is really. Yeah, and I wonder if Prometheus, the reveal of who he is going to be a game changer.
Right.
If that's an opening up for season 7 type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I mean? You feel me? All right. Well, I want to move on because we've got a few more subjects I want to hit before the end of tonight's show.
Sure.
Susan, the reporter, Oliver's love interest and I guess pseudo girlfriend at this point, asks him the dying question, are you the Green Arrow? So that opens up a whole can of worms. Thea finds out about this, and we know Thea has not been Susan's biggest fan throughout the season. Lets Felicity know, Oliver's ex-girlfriend, and now that she's got the Pandora's box, they hack into her computer, into Susan's computer, and basically frame her as someone who's been making up her stories and plagiarism, and so she's fired, and basically her career is over as a reporter. Oliver's not too happy with this, and scolds his girls, scolds his sister and Felicity. What did you think about that, Lewis?
It's a double-edged sword because she would have ruined all. Okay, so they ruined her by making it seem like she plagiarizes everything. But then she was after Oliver in the same way. If she would have exposed Oliver, it would have been. So it's like he kind of didn't really touch upon that at the end.
Well, here's an interesting thing because I haven't been able to figure out this season yet. Is Susan working Oliver? Or does Susan actually have feelings for him and care about him and she's maybe a good person and if he lets her in on the secret, she'll protect him? I'm not quite sure which direction it is yet. What do you think, Red?
No, see, and I was the same way because if you had asked me 2 weeks ago.
She seemed really hurt tonight.
Yeah, when the first time it revealed Susan knows who Oliver is or seriously suspects, I had that same feeling, she's going to be in trouble. She's going to be a problem.
Right.
But this episode, then it went the other way. I'm like, wow, she seems really hurt by this.
Because she took it really hard.
Really, really hard.
Because it didn't take her long to figure out that Oliver had somebody hacked, that Oliver somehow was involved in this hacking. And she seemed really hurt by it and upset.
So
I don't know.
No, I'm just glad that they're not making it easy. And that's how I feel. They're not making this easy for us trying to play out, okay, Sue's obviously working for somebody, and she's maybe working for Prometheus, and therefore who knows? But you don't know. But see, I don't know.
But I agree with you, Lewis. Is that I'm not quite sure what direction, what her ulterior motives are in this situation.
I think at first she's like he said. She's working for someone,
right?
And a couple episodes ago, she's in bed with him, and it's like she looked disappointed that the tattoo was there. Like, oh man, I have to do this. type of look. That's the kind of look I got at. That's the kind of vibe.
So it could be that like she got involved for nefarious reasons, but then she got feelings for him, and now I mean, that would be an interesting choice.
Certainly, no, certainly it would be. And again, that's one of the things I enjoy about this show, and I'm enjoying so much, is that there's a lot of turns and a lot of character arcs that are just interesting to follow, because you don't really know. 1 minute you think you got a character figured out, and then it changes on you a bit.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And Oliver's so cute. I mean, how could you not fall?
Oh, he's dreamy. He's totally dreamy. So, another plot point in tonight's episode is the sins of his past coming back to haunt him. And actually, the episode opened with a scene where Oliver and Diggle go to meet the woman who is the mother of the suspect, of the person that they think might be Prometheus. They don't know his name yet. So basically, Oliver says, as Mayor Queen says, this is what's going on. What's your son's name so we can try to figure this out? And she says, no, I don't want anything to do with this. The Hood is the killer. He's the one, back from season 1, who killed his father. I don't blame him for doing whatever he's doing. So that's the first kind of sin. But then they were dealing with all sorts of sins in this episode. Obviously, Lady Cop coming back being the sin of Lance's back, the things that Oliver's done. And then also, the Green Arrow is suspected by the police now. It's come out that Billy Malone was killed with one of the Green Arrow's arrows.
Right.
So this comes up, and our new captain, who took over for Lance, basically sends Star City Police after, not after Oliver Queen, after the Green Arrow. So really, Oliver's sins are coming back to haunt him. What did you think about that overall?
That's amazing.
Idea? Yeah,
that's amazing. That's
because it's everything from the entire series coming back.
Yeah, it's great. He didn't really kill Billy, but. He was kind of manipulated.
Technically, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He technically really did kill him. But yes, he was manipulated. You're right. He was manipulated.
Yeah, so it's like it's coming back to bite him, where. So that's definitely a great storyline, and it was throughout today's episode. You have with the Lady Cop theme coming. So I really like that theme, and. Man, it's going to be something haunting Oliver all the time. It's like a dark cloud.
Well, and very good. And that's actually something that Oliver says in this episode. He says, I'm going to have to live with this the rest of my life. And actually, Mayor Queen goes to the police captain, on behalf of Green Arrow, but basically goes to him and pleads his case and says, Green Arrow was framed, and he didn't mean to do this, and he's going to have to live with this, and you got to let him go. And eventually, the captain does agree, and we were having a little interesting discussion where I think that the actor playing the captain made the actor's choice, that he knows the mayor and Green Arrow are the same person. Yeah. That's not necessarily said in the episode, but that's the feeling I got. What did you think?
No, I got the same thing. The actor, Adrian Holmes, who plays Captain Pike, and I had the same feeling. First of all, you have the mayor coming in and now second time referencing having a connection, that he has this information. And Pike, what I love is that I didn't feel like they were playing him dumb. Because there are certain points, we joke about this with all superhero shows, and it's like, how can you not tell that this part, this is a person? So we always play, kind of joke around with that. But with that, and the way it ended, and the fact that Pike did take that advice, say, you know what, I am going to let that go. And he had that feeling at the end that, this might come back around and kind of have another ally, at least in the police force, which I think is important, especially once Detective Lance is no longer technically a detective, although he does a lot of detective things. Which I always find
funny. We kept joking about that, that he basically acts like a cop in this episode, but he's the deputy mayor. He can't arrest anybody.
Citizen's arrest.
He was citizen's arrest, of course. And then I just want to mention that this sort of storyline ends the episode with the reveal. It's sort of outed in the public that the Mayor Queen, along with the DA, Adrian Chase, basically covered up the Green Arrow killing Billy Malone, and now Mayor Scandal and Oliver basically says to Lance, like, I'm done being the mayor. This is impeachment. This gives us a very interesting direction to go with the next few episodes. What do you think?
I would like to see Ollie, not the mayor.
I think it's been a good run. I think they've done a great job with it, but I agree.
I think it's a good scapegoat.
And it's a storyline from the comic books, but he didn't stay mayor in the comic books forever either. It was a short amount of time, and I agree. I don't see him being mayor after this season.
No, and I definitely think, was it the deputy knows who? Because I didn't.
Oh, the captain.
Oh, the captain.
Sorry,
The captain.
knows who he is.
Captain Pike, yeah.
One thing I'm going to ask you guys, though, I was kind of confused at the end because he goes, "Get the Green Arrow." He gave that order, and then they kind of ignored him when they got to the fight sequence. Did you notice that?
You know what? Now that
They
you say
saw
that,
his
you're
bike.
right. He basically says, we're going to go get the Green Arrow. It kind of puts the whole group together of cops, and then they don't go and get the Green Arrow. They stop the female villains and
The triad of ladies.
Maybe there's something there.
Well, maybe at the same time, I think sometimes, just like we joke about how does a guy who's no longer a cop now in the middle of every gunfight, it's just one of those things where if you love a show, you love it for even when it's flaws and things like that.
We want to mention one more point we want to talk about. We got to talk about the flashback. This is Arrow. There's always a flashback. And the flashback ties into the sins of Oliver Queen. And so basically, we're back in Russia. It's where we left off last time. And Anatoly is, been beaten nearly to death. He's in a prison, in a hospital bed, and Oliver and Anatoly are planning to kill Gregor. When Gregor and his men show up to kill them, and Oliver basically says, Anatoly, I will sacrifice myself to save you. Anatoly then calls Oliver, the Sin Eater, back to our title.
Right.
And he explains that in Russia, that's a sort of a name for a person that takes on other people's problems. And then basically the episode ends, or the flashbacks end, with Gregor about to kill Anatoly. And I would assume that Oliver is going to save him. But how did you like the flashbacks and the way they really tied in to the theme of this episode?
I loved it, and I love the way now, what Oliver is willing to do for Anatoly. That was very, I don't know, touching, because a few episodes ago.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I love their bromance. And I love Anatoly, and we've seen him throughout the whole series, but really this season is an Anatoly season, and it's been fantastic.
Which has me fearing for Anatoly's life. I'm going to be honest.
Well, we know he's not going to die in the flashbacks.
I know he's not dying in the flashbacks, but I'm just saying.
He could die in present day.
I like what was funny. I didn't feel like that was as important in this episode, the flashbacks, as they sometimes are, where really takes precedence in this, and like what's happening there is really affecting what's happening now. But even with that, what I found interesting again is like that pointing out that this is what Oliver does. He constantly takes everybody's blame and puts them on themselves, and that seemed to be the real theme of the episode. Exactly. He takes it all, and there's got to be a point. And with a lot of the characters, they touched on that. You got to let that go and not do that.
And I think that's been a big theme for Oliver this season.
Seems to be, definitely.
Honorable mention, one last thing we want to say before we run out of time. I think we all really enjoyed Dinah's minor role in this episode. And Dinah does officially become a member of the Star City Police. Felicity gives her the first bit of her Black Canary costume, the mask, and even Lance basically says, you're going to do fine. You go out and get him.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I'm excited for that because I've got a feeling that with this slow build towards that, it's really going to be a cool moment when that actually happens and she dons that full uni and it goes big. Because right now there are so many characters in this show alone, and there's so many advancements. I'm very much looking forward to see what else they do with Dinah. I can tell it's a slow cook, but I think it's going to be really worth it at the end. And of course, with Lance, the fact that happens and how his connection story-wise, for him to give that means it's great. Now it's really going to be about Dinah and her development and what she does.
Lewis, you have the last word on Black Canary.
Oh my gosh, I think it was great because she's not replacing. Lance let her know she's not replacing anyone. She's continuing the legacy.
Continuing legacy.
And it's like she's not replacing the character. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Right?
I think it's a great.
Yeah, she's different.
It's great.
She's
part of the
different.
series.
She's different.
Working for the same thing, has the same powers.
Absolutely.
And she's a different character. I feel like she's different than the other Black Canary. She's just a different character, and that's what I'm enjoying so much about her. Is like this is is a new take on it, and I'm really excited to see what the writers end up doing with her. Definitely.
Well, I was really excited. This was a great episode of our show, of Arrow. We had a great night. We want to thank you for checking us out. We appreciate it so much to be here at Arrow After Show. I want to thank my crew, Ray Holdridge.
Hey, thank you guys so much. Want to appreciate, well, just all of you for tuning in. And go ahead and check me online. You can go Ray Holdridge II on Instagram, and then also find me at RayDallas67 on Twitter.
And please give some love to Louis Lowe.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, the chatter was off the hook today, so keep it up. Thanks for the support. You can find me on Twitter at NukeTheFridge, and you could also watch me here on the Stream.tv on the Flash After Show and the Supergirl After Show. And this one.
Thank you again for watching the Arrow After Show right here at the Stream.tv. I'm your host, Jamie Philbrick. I also want to mention, if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, if you watched this whole episode, please share it with a friend. Please tweet this out. We want to get as many eyeballs on this show as we can every week so we can keep bringing you great Arrow chat. I also want to remind you to check out our Facebook pages, DC TV Universe Crew, as well as the Arrow discussion group. We want to thank our good friend Lance Osfresser for running these Facebook pages for us. He does an amazing job. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Arrow After Show on the Stream.tv. I'm Jamie Philbrick. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
See you guys.